between two of the engines. But he still doesn't know how or why she broke. Nearly 2.5 hours after the collision, as the last of the lifeboats are being lowered, forces are building to tear Titanic to pieces. Second Officer Charles Lightoller is a witness to the beginning of the end.
Just then, the ship took a slight but definite plunge. Those that didn't disappear underwater right away instinctively started to climb toward the stern, which was rising steadily out of the water. I knew only too well the utter futility of struggling towards the stern. There was only one thing to do. Striking the water was like 1,000 knives being driven into one's body.
As Lightoller and others struggle for their lives, Titanic comes closer to total destruction. From the icy seas, Lightoller describes an astonishing drama.
The bow of the ship was now rapidly going down, and the stern rising higher and higher out of the water. The terrific strain of bringing the after end of that huge hull out of the water opened the expansion joint near number 1 funnel, causing the funnel to fall. Missing me by inches.
From the water, Lightoller saw the ship coming apart. But his harrowing account does not explain Titanic's mangled condition today. David Livingstone returns from Titanic with more questions than answers.
One of the surprising things was the way in which the vessel had broken up. There doesn't appear to be a pattern. One panel of steel is bent one way, its neighbouring panel is bent another way. And no one simple explanation can explain just all the forces that were happening to the ship.
While Livingstone grapples with the puzzle of how Titanic tore to pieces, Bill Garski's colleagues in the United States may be on the verge of some answers. Piece by piece, a virtual Titanic is being built.
Okay, so when you're building a finite element model, if you start off bulkhead by
The computer model is based on key information from the expedition, as well as some of the ship's design plans.
So what we have here is the Titanic, and or the beginning of the finite element model of the Titanic.
This modern engineering tool can begin to reveal the escalating forces that acted on Titanic's hull.
Next we've added A deck, and lastly there's the boat deck.
For the very first time, researchers can begin to calculate the forces that impacted Titanic before she broke. The stresses within the ship are shown with a spectrum of colors. Red represents the most severe. The team first looks at the stresses within Titanic on calm seas.
So I don't see very many stresses in that.
But as the wounded ship fills with water, the stresses in the midsection increase dramatically.
Wow, what is that?
This is the ship just prior to breakup. It's taken on a lot of water in the bow, and that rapid change causes the stresses to increase.
So basically our ship is bending. Forward end of the ship is flooded. The top part of the ship is pulling apart in tension. The bottom or the keel of the ship is compressing, and the steel plates in the keel are actually buckling.
As the bow pulls down, the huge stern rises in the air. The equivalent of a 25-story building suddenly looming above the water.
The stresses that we have in the deck are on the order of 35,000 pounds per square inch. And that's about 50% higher than what the Titanic was actually designed for.
The myriad of stresses within Titanic were so enormous that they overwhelmed the ship. Perhaps most revealing, the model helps to support eyewitness testimony that Titanic broke apart on the surface.
I heard explosions, a sort of rumbling sound. I imagined the decks had blown up with the pressure pulling the boat down. Major Arthur Pushen.
You could see a propeller right clear. And you could see underneath the keel. You could see part of the keel. Joseph Scarrett.
And her lights went dim as she broke clean in two. Steward, Frederick Crowe.
There was no sound for what seemed like hours. And then the cries for help would seem to go on forever. Emily